Hi, welcome to the Crafts channel. My name's Corinne Brad, and today I've got a quick little idea. Well, I say it's a quick little idea. You do need a little bit of patience, but it's a very simple idea from DK yarn and old glass jars and bottles. It's to make just hanging nightlight holders or bottle vases. They're quite pretty. They'd be great as wedding decorations, garden party decorations. Obviously, if you're going to put a tea light in here, don't put an actual flame tea light in here, because at some point you might find your string catches fire. But the battery operated ones are fine. So once you get the hang of it, they are quite simple to do. I'm just going to put that there so it doesn't roll off the table. You want to cut yourself 8 lengths of DK cotton yarn, which is about a yard long. Put them to one side. Grab yourself a jar. If you're just starting, a straight-sided jar is the easiest thing to start on. I'll show you why in a minute. And then what you need to do is cut yourself another piece of yarn. This is going to make your hanging string. So from each of your yard-long pieces, if you take the centre point and make a heart shape with a loop and lay that loop like that, and do that with all 8 of these, stack them up together so all the loops are the same way round. So as I say, you've got the loop, fold it over the top, grab those 2 strings, so you've got what would be a lark's head knot. So you've done that with all 8 pieces of yarn. Remember which one is the piece that you cut to start with, and just pop it through those loops. Hold it like that and pull those lark's heads. This is possibly the trickiest bit of the whole project, because you've got all your pieces of yarn in what looks like quite a mess, to be quite honest with you, but it will all come good. Everything always comes good. So there you go. Your lark's head knot across a piece of string, as if, you know, any sort of wall hanging, any sort of macrame, that's how you would normally start, is one baseline with your other pieces across it. So grab your jar, tie this length, in fact make sure it's central. Oh, me and long pieces of yarn. My arms aren't long enough to do this kind of project. Tie this around the neck of your glass jar or your bottle. Don't tie it so tightly, because you will need to get your fingers under it in a minute. But tie it in a relatively taut wreath knot. Take your ends, cut them to the same length, it makes your life easier. And then if you take your nice bit of fringe here, move 4 knots to one side, 4 knots to the other. Take this point and tuck those ends under. And this is why you don't want to tie it too tight, because you'll never get it under. Tie it under there and then just secure that with a wreath knot and trim your ends away. So you've got your hanging loop, which you can then adjust along here to make it central. So tuck that inside because you don't need it. Take these lark's head knots and arrange them in quarters and eighths around the neck of your jar. Like so. Right, can you see that? So you've got these 8 strings hanging down. Now to hold them in place, get a rubber band. Just pop it over your jar like so. So it's about, I don't know, 5 millimeters down from the neck of your jar. So make sure these are tautish. But once you've done that, you can lay your jar on its side, take a strand from each of those knots and tie a wreath knot. But rather than pulling it tight, just tie it up to the level of that rubber band. So do the first knot quite loosely and then tighten it in the centre as the wreath. So the first knot quite loosely. Oh. And then tighten it up with the wreath. I am just going to put something there to stop that jar rolling around. It's going to roll in the other direction now, isn't it? So what you're doing is you're taking a piece of yarn from each of the lark's head knots and you're tying it to a piece of yarn from the adjacent knot, so it will form a diamond pattern. And it forms the kind of net that you see on all the macrame wall hangings from my 70s childhood that used to have half-dead spider plants in. In fact, I think I've still got some half-dead spider plants from the 70s, because I never throw anything away. Here we go, it's the last one of that round of 8 initial wreath knots. Like so. So hold it up, comb them out, and then if you gather them under the jar to pull them taut, and then just roll that rubber band down to under each knot. Again, make sure it's level, and then do exactly the same thing again, which is to tie a wreath knot underneath. Now, if you haven't already fallen asleep by now watching me knot these pieces of yarn, I can guarantee that I probably will send you off if I continue to do this. So I'm going to suddenly switch to one I made earlier, which is this one here. Now this one doesn't actually have a straight side on it, because I was daring. I made it when I'd had a bit more practice and I knew what I was doing, if I ever know what I'm doing. So you've got your collection of knots, and then quite simply, if you turn it upside down, let the threads take the weight of the jar, divide them into 4, and simply tie an overhand knot like this. Pull it tight, and do a second overhand knot to make a wreath knot to secure it, and then take one of the strands of DK, hold your tassel as it were. Now how can I explain this? Take this single strand of yarn, make a loop over the tassel and bring that end through and pull it tight. Make a loop, bring the end through while the jar rolls around on the surface. Hang on, that would be better, wouldn't it? Pull it tight. Loop. So you're making a series of, I think they're half hitch knots. I'm not a great knot connoisseur, but effectively what you're doing is you're finding the neck of a tassel. And you only need about 6 knots. Pull it tight. Grab your ends of yarn. And there you have it. Very simple, but as I say, quite elegant, you know, especially if you've got a nice plain white wall and you can just put a couple of succulents in there, or you've got a bottle like this. I have so many tonic water bottles in my house, it's ridiculous. But you can just put a couple of stems, you know, a rose in there, something like that. Very easy. And it is very easy. It's one of those things, though, you just need to get your hand in, like any of these crafts. If you've never tried macrame, if you don't work with yarn, you are going to feel things and thumbs, but bear with it. Take it easy. Sit down and do it in the comfort of your own home, not in a studio, and enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll come see us again very, very soon. We've got lots of videos for you to look at. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.